Hi, I'm Aaron Brooker, your area Beck's agronomist covering Michigan and northern Indiana. In this video series, I'll discuss the PFR proven products and practices and success strategies we've identified that I'm confident will work in Michigan. Join me as we bridge the gap and bring PFR to your farm. Today, I'd like to discuss something we've done a lot of research on in PFR, and that's going to be nitrogen management. I'm not going to discuss all of the studies by any means that we've done in PFR, but I'm going to focus on a couple of the ones that have been most successful in PFR. That's why when you open that PFR book, you're going to find those at the front section in those 5 PFR proven success strategies. That's going to be our 2x2x2 on corn, and then also our split applications of nitrogen. Now, first, starting with the 2x2x2, we've done 4 years of research in this study that you'll see here, and we're comparing 30 units in a 2x2 pass with 30 units in a 2x2 pass, so getting that nitrogen down on both sides of the row. And then also, since we're going on both sides of the row, can we increase that nitrogen rate up to 60 units to 30 units on each side of the row? You'll see that the data shows that we see a 6 bushel advantage over that 2x2 just by switching to 2x2x2 without increasing the nitrogen rate. When we increase the nitrogen rate, we see an additional just over a bushel advantage there by increasing that nitrogen rate. That's why you'll see in our current PFR studies, we actually use that 60 units of 2x2x2 as our standard nitrogen application method. Now in Michigan, I think 2x2x2 is a great idea. We've got a lot of low organic matter soils, or we just don't get a lot of nitrogen mineralization early in the season. And I think having that nitrogen up front is really important as we think about getting to that side dress pass and having that nice early start to that plant. So 2x2x2, a lot of people have gravitated towards that, but I think there's could be still a lot more adoption and a lot more profitability out there that people haven't quite taken advantage of there yet. Shifting gears now, we're going to talk about those split applications of nitrogen. In this study, you'll see that every time that we side dress our corn, instead of just doing that on 100% pre-plant incorporated nitrogen, we see significant advantages in that profitability. $70 in a couple of these, and then around $50 in a couple of those as well. Now, earlier side dress, as you'll see in these 2 timings that we were at V3, you'll see that our profitability was much greater than when we shifted to that V4 and that V5 timing with those side dress timings. So that earlier application, what that does, it gives that nitrogen a chance to convert into the right form, into that nitrate form, by the time that we get into that heavy uptake period in that corn plant, which is going to start around V7, V8, and continue into that those late vegetative stages. So it's really important to get that nitrogen on at a good time to get it into the right form for those plants to uptake it. Now, why don't we want to put all of our nitrogen on up front? Well, basically, it's about risk management. If all of our nitrogen is on up front, there's chances to lose that nitrogen, mostly through leaching and through denitrification. That side dress pass gets that nitrogen there at the right time and reduces the risk of nitrogen loss. Now, I also wanted to talk about a newer study that we've been doing the last few years, and that's going to look at 2x2x2. We are going to compare back to 2x2, but we're going to look at that total nitrogen rate for the season. So we're going to play around with that side dress pass and how much nitrogen do we need. We believe we're getting better nitrogen use efficiency with that 2x2x2 using 60 units up front. So how much nitrogen do we really need for the season? In this data, this 3-year data, you'll see that 160 units of nitrogen has actually been our best nitrogen rate. We used to use 190 units. That was a good nitrogen rate, but on average across our locations, we're seeing that 160 units. We're not seeing additional advantages to those 30 extra units. Now, when we break this down by locations, the story is a little bit different. We actually see that our higher organic matter locations, such as that Iowa location, responds more to those lower nitrogen rates. Those higher organic matter soils can supply a little bit more nitrogen throughout the season. When we look at some of those lower organic matter soils, like our Kentucky site, for instance, we see that we still need to have those higher nitrogen rates. That 190 units was most profitable in that location. So when we think about these Michigan soils, you can play around with nitrogen rates. I know we've got a variety of soils in Michigan. If you're higher organic matter, maybe you don't need as much nitrogen as you've been using. And if you're on those lower organic matter soils, maybe we need to continue at those higher nitrogen rates and things like that. The biggest thing with that nitrogen rate piece is making sure you're looking at that actual profitability. We know that we can drive higher yields with increased nitrogen, but there's going to be a breaking point where we start to lose money as we apply too much nitrogen based on the amount of yield we're seeing in return from that nitrogen. So make sure you're always penciling that out to see where that nitrogen rate should fit for your operation. Again, 2 by 2 by 2 and split applications of nitrogen, I think, are no brainers when it comes to nitrogen management. And I think increased adoption of those across the state are definitely a great idea and can improve profitability on your operation.